Man.
Wow.
Well, last year, Zach Lomax was the most improved player in the competition, but Kaio by far this year.
And if they gave out those league ratings again, that's a 10 out of 10 performance.
It sure is.
And that was the point of difference. The firepower that those energetic outside backs had for Canberra, the KO Weeks, that one run, I think he had 8 or 9 tackle busts. Just the physicality, just bump, hit, bounce off. I think it was Damien Cook to try to hit him. And just the ability to break tackles and the leg speed too. He was phenomenal, actually. Yeah, phenomenal.
Look at it here. Yeah, it was like beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. Hang on. Look at this. Beat 4.
Yeah, that's the one in the second half.
Yeah, that's a mighty effort. And
when you've got the conductor and Jamal Fogarty, who's good game manager, experienced head, but not a game breaker himself. Yeah. The fact that you've got Ethan Strange on one side and then you've got KO Weeks now doing what they're doing, that's why they're an attacking machine, because they've got some smarts, but then just some young enthusiasm that just takes on the game.
That's interesting, Coops, when you spelled out like that, because let's go back and have a think about your 2017 grand final winning side. So you're playing the Fogarty role, you're controlling the whole field, and you got Slater and you got Munster. Yeah. A lot of similarities.
Similar to Broncos with Adam Reynolds, and then you got Reece Walsh and Ezra Mam doing their thing. Defence are so good these days, you need something to break them open.
Yep, my word.
And as a half, you struggle to create the extra number now in attack. It's almost like you create one-on-ones. It's like we're talking about Queensland, right? If New South Wales get one-on-one ball for their centres, that's an advantage in itself.
Coop, just for on Kaio, the general belief has been there is not enough depth in the competition for expansion.
Yep.
I'll contest that. I think if we haven't got enough, I think the next couple of years we're going to have a mile of it. Yep. I just want to run you through. I was just thinking about Kaio and some of the young players in the game. I've done a list here, and I just kept writing. And this is only about really half of the young guys that exist in the game. And I've written here Stephen Crichton as well. Stephen Crichton, he's 24, and Reece Walsh and those guys. They're probably, you don't class them as young players, but Bailey Hayward, Dream Buller, the Pioneer brothers, how good were they? Young Sam Healy coming through at the Warriors, Max Plath, King Tonga, Halasima, Vaimunga, mate, Katoa, Matty Nicholson, Ethan Strange, Galvin, De Silva. Then you go, mate, all the ones like Owen Paddy, Moriata, Fletcher Sharp, Yongi, Thomas, Casey McLean, Blaze, and Jackson Purdue, Xavier Willison, mate, Lehigh Hopewadi. It just goes, I've never...
Anything else? Anyone else?
I was in a frenzy then. No, but I can't remember my time in football. DCE's in there. I can't remember a time in my watching the game there has been so many outstanding youngsters just under 23 years of age.
Give the young kids a rap, there's no doubt. But I think the other part, their coaches need a big rap too, because good coaches make average players good.
Yep.
Good players great and great elite, right?
Yep.
So the question is around expansion. I believe you. I think there is enough talent.
Yep.
But they need to get the right coaches in the right positions.
Coaching. Yes.
Because then you will get an influx of improvement of those players. All of a sudden, someone that came to a club, sort of not even on the radar, starts playing football, starts playing consistent football, then we're going, you know what, this guy can play Origin. And that's the difference between it.
If we got enough great coaches and enough great playmakers, we got enough players.
Agree with that.
Just having a bit of a look around here, because let's go into train spotting for a second. You got something for me?
Yeah, so it's talking about KO Weeks and the Canberra side, right? It was 28-24 with 2.5 minutes to go. And this is the evolution that Canberra and some young spine need to get to if they're going to win a comp. They need to understand the context of the game. So 2.5 minutes to go, up by 4. Ethan Strange gets the ball on 5th play. He runs the ball. Now, every cue said for him to run.
Yep.
But he's thrown the ball out the back here, and Jamal Fogarty gets it, turnover.
Yeah, gotcha.
Now, if he didn't run or stepped off his left and then kicked in the corner, that's 20 metres closer away from the try line. This is the 5th play, game on the line, and the Dragons get an attacking kick. Mm-hmm. Now, the run was actually the right call, right? Yep. I get why he saw it, because he saw space and everything. But at some stage, you had to stop and kick it in the back corner, because that 20-metre difference with 2.5 to go in a tight game is everything you need to either win or lose. Now, that kick ends up being 35 metres out. Or they probably don't even put an attacking kick in.
Yeah.
They shift the ball around and then you shut it down. But the fact that they got to that field position should never have happened.
Isn't it like, just go the simple option?
Yep.
Like that, the way he came off the left, it's brilliant and it's exciting, but
he's got the mindset of the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He was close to the ruck, saw that the pressure was coming, so stepped off. What he needs to do, take a deep step, know that the kick is number 1, number 2 and number 3 option with this time on the clock.
I've done, like, on the kicking situation here, it's not really a transport of stuff, but, mate, Jamal Fogarty put a torpedo bomb up the other night. Honestly, it's one of the very best I've seen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It was a humdinger. Here it is. And just to see the way it just rips off the boot and you go, oh, he's hit this one sweet.
Yep.
And this is where we're talking about how it turns over.
Yeah.
And that's when mate, Gutho was in all sorts.
So to give people at home a bit of an insight, if a torpedo turns on top of the ball, it for some reason spins away and it gets violent on the way down. If it doesn't turn over the top of its axis, it's actually reasonably okay to catch. But those players that, in my day, Inglis could do it, Lockyer could do it, Matt Burton can do it when you kick a torpedo. But that is easily in the top bracket of torpedo bombs I've seen.
Let's talk about 3 of the, as young people say, the OGs of the torpedo bomb. Firstly, and we'll work there was Joey, of course, and Joey got the idea. There was a guy who used to be paid by Adidas, and his name was, what was it? It was Dave Aldred, righto? And he used to do Johnny Wilkinson, and mate, actually played for the Minnesota Vikings. And he said there is a scientific equation for a torpedo bomb. He said, picture a clock in front of you, you point the point of the ball at 11 o'clock and your body at 1 and it will torpedo.
Yep.
And Joey always took that.
So it wraps off the side of your boot, basically,
Yep.
so the ball will spin off its axis on the side of the boot.
That game there was interesting. Joey, mate, he tortured Clinton Tchaikovsky in that game, and it wasn't Clinton's fault in the fact that we just saw with Gutho, if a kicker nails a torpedo bomb, sometimes it's just uncatchable.
Yeah.
You can't get them. But when we went across, at Newcastle, we used to have to go across the main road to a park and warm up.
Yeah.
So, Brian Smith used to like the mind games, so we've gone across to warm up, and he's already taken our warm-up spot. And it was only him and Clinton. And Brian Smith himself was putting these lolly bombs up. Anyway, Clinton kept dropping it. And Joey's watching, right? And he's watching, and I'm going, oh, no, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And Joey goes, all fucking day. That's all he said. Second one, Ricky Stewart. Ricky Stewart, one of the originals. And, mate, if we go back, it was the 1990 major semi-final, and it's Canberra at the Sydney Football Stadium, and they're playing the Broncos Coops. And I went and watched the warm-up. Watching that great green machine, watching Mal and, Gary Belcher, Steve Walters, just Lazo, all of them, Loz. And Ricky is warming up and he's hitting these torpedoes. Honestly, it was like they were getting spat out of a machine. They were just perfect. They were beautiful to look at. And, when some of those big games, when he'd just crack them down in Canberra, they were something. But the one that really comes to mind, I reckon the best of the lot, was Andrew Walker.
You say Andrew Walker is the best torpedo kicker of the game.
He is the best at these torpedo bombs. Mate, he used to hit them sometimes. And I remember Rabs one night, he's playing for St George.
Sydney want nothing to do with that.
It completely went out of shot. He could hit him more. He could hit him so sweet and better than anyone I can remember.
This angle here for people, just see how the ball is. On the angle it's wrapping around the outside of the foot.
Yep.
The other thing too about the torpedo bombs is I never could get it to turn over, so I had to find another way. That's why the floater bomb came into play.
Yep.
Nathan Cleary does it too.
Yes.
Reynolds is probably more of a floater bomb too. So if you can't get that over, the best one is to do the floater.
The floater bomb's probably even more dangerous.
It's hard, if you get it right, but there's a lot of risk in that one.
Four Pines Park yesterday, there was a Volvo promotion. Honestly, you are ruthless. You have fingers and a million pies. And no, it was 10 grand for anyone who can kick it and put it through the sunroof straight. Look at that. The only time you've been cheered at Brookvale.
Yeah, it was. I actually had booze before I did this. And then there was some cheers afterwards.
So you were drinking? It was in booze?
Yep. And I got the 10 grand cash too, by the way.
Look at that. Volvo Mossman. You're the best.
Beaver Menzies.
There he is, the great Beaver. Now, Coops, I'll get some great vision for you. Now, in focus tonight, last night on the show, we had one of my heroes, the great Englishman Gary Schofield. Scoey, if you look at some of his highlights, they're insane. He was nicknamed the Poacher. I've rarely seen a try scorer like it. Just amazing. He had short stints in Australia, played for Balmain 47 games, played 9 games for West. Hull, he played 122 games, 107 tries, played for Leeds 250 games. 502 club games.
502?
Club games, yep. 551 if you include tests. Most capped Great Britain player and youngest, he debuted for Great Britain at 17, toured Australia at 18.
Wow.
Amazing. But he left his best, Coops. He left his best when he played the Kangaroos. He was, in my opinion, he typified English rugby league in the fact that he and Ellery Hanley were Australia's worst nightmares because they didn't play like Australians.
Yep.
They played an English style. You know, Scoey would chip over the top in early tackles.
Right.
Genius. The way he ball played was unorthodox and so different. And yeah, he was amazing. Numerous man of the matches against Australia. Won a golden boot one year.
So in terms of Schofield,
yep,
is he the best to ever done it?
Coops, I think, look,
Australia?
I would put him in as one of the greatest English players.
Yep.
As far as impact in Australia, he had a huge impact. But if we go through our top 5, he doesn't sit there because these other guys had a longer stay
impact,
and
yep,
won competitions.
Yep.
So if I go through my top 5 of Englishmen as far as impact, my number 1 is Ellery Hanley. Right, not a long stay with the Tigers, but I can't remember a player who had an impact like Hanley.
Yep.
Amazing. Number 2, my old coach Malcolm Reilly. I've got some vision. I'm going to come back to Malcolm in a minute, which you'll quite enjoy, or maybe you won't. Sam Burgess, number 3, says a lot that Sam's down at number 3, given what he achieved. And number 4, I've gone Adrian Morley. Thought Moz was amazing. And for 5, I've got 3 that are tied. I've gone James Graham, the great Johnny Gray, and Tommy Bishop, what he did at Cronulla. But if I go back to Malcolm Reilly, like Malcolm was our coach at Newcastle, and me and Scully were talking about him last night. Malcolm coached Gary at test level and also at Leeds, and he was just saying, mate, like we're talking about what a competitor he was. But Malcolm was a guy, he never talked tough. Like, you know, he was an amazingly tough player. And it's funny, yesterday was South against Manly. 53 years almost to the day was, they say, the most brutal fight that ever took place on a rugby league field. It was Malcolm against George Piggins, where they basically got at Redfern Oval and headbutted each other for 2 minutes. Like, it was horrendous.
No,
2 of the toughest guys
thanks.
that have graced a pitch. But Malcolm, one of the things he used to do when we'd have a few beers, he'd sometimes, you know, pull someone and say, come on, Coops, let's have an arm wrestle. And he was famous for it, and no one's ever beaten him, right? So we're playing...
Love those blokes when you're having a beer.
Don't you love it?
I love them.
Guys who want to wrestle
over
and
here
stuff
and
like
let's
that.
get physical.
Fantastic. I just want to dance, guys. Anyway, I've got to fire him. I want to dance. So we play a game. So at the end of the normal round, we play Adelaide Rams in 1998. And then we all go for a few beers. The next week, we're at the semi-finals. And he pulls over Steve Crowe. He says, come on, Crowe, let's go. Let's have an arm wrestle. But Malcolm McCourt beats him. And Crowe says, I tell you what, old man, I'd get you in the ring one day and it'll be a lot different. Well, Malcolm's eyes lit up. And he rang the strength and conditioner and he said, listen, the field session, cancel that. We're going to go to the boxing ring, right?
So this is finals time.
This is the week leading into the finals. Now, if you talk about player welfare, right, and how, you know, coaches have to be careful around their players, right, it was captured when we turned up there. The NBN news crew were there. Let's have a little look at what happened.
So this is the coach.
The coach and one of his forwards. There's Chief trying to break him up. And that,
wow,
yeah, it's Benji and Dewey. Eat your heart out. And it just went on and on and on. Right. And I remember I think Malcolm asked the news crew, can you just remove that last bit? Because Malcolm, whatever it takes. And Crowe said when he got into the fight, he said, I realised that to stop this bloke, I'm going to need a gun. So Malcolm had him in the corner towards the end there, and he's literally going bang, bang, and hitting him with the elbows. Now, that is leading to a semi-final game.
That's good vision. He wouldn't need a gun because I think what they were doing is just getting warmed up for the bloke that was throwing some other punches, this guy.
Oh, no! Oh, look at that.
Look at that. They were just warming up.
Oh,
for
mate, body punches.
Pound. That's pound for pound
look
right
at
there.
That, mate. Float like an elephant, sting like a moth. just quickly, let's make Tigers.
Yep.
The Fainu brothers yesterday were fantastic, mate.
Yep.
You know, Latu was brilliant with his ball playing. I love some of the stuff he did. The young hooker, right? And of course, Appy injured, or HIA, sorry. He missed a week. Talon De Silva has left the club. Cooper Tristan Hope.
Yes.
I tell you what, yesterday, he was terrific. There's a lot of Mitch Kenny around Tristan.
Oh, right, yeah. I will say this. Benji Marshall, and they are playing for Benji, you saw what Latu said after the game. He's put a lot of faith in some guys that need to deliver because Latu Fainu the week before against Manly struggled for points, struggled kicking game, brought Jerome Luai to be halfback. So Benji Marshall's under a bit of pressure. That's a good win, but these guys need to stand up for their coach. Otherwise, he's going to be under more pressure. But Fainu brothers, great story, but they need to get consistency, particularly Latu in his ball playing, because the week before against Manly, ineffective. Against the Roosters, running the ball, strong body, strong carry. That's his blueprint. And it's just going to be interesting to see how him and Luai play, because it looks as though Benji is moving Luai to number 6 so he doesn't lose his creativity.
Yeah.
He struggled with that balance.
Yeah, he has.
But it'll be interesting to see what he does once Origin's over.
Yeah, young Tristan, I said, terrific young player. Scotty just in the ear said he's actually 28. Anyway, mate, Scotty, he's young in spirit. That's the most important thing.
You done a lot of research?
Yeah, mate, I'm killing it today. Now, mate, the Dogs.
Yeah.
The puzzle, Coop. It's still, because of the fact that Crichton was at Origin, Burton went to left centre, which means the combination was Galvin.
6.
Burton's got
there is no argument here.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
Yep. He's been
no
terrific.
doubt, mate. Yep. No doubt. Okay, who's 7 then? Who's 7 for the rest of this season? Is it Galvin or is it Sexton? I think it's Sexton. I think Galvin is a 14 for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Picking it apart, the Dogs are in a good spot. The best defensive team we have in the competition. And the threats of Crichton, Kickow, Jacob Preston's a threat, Cherry, Burton. You don't need a truly dominant threat with a number 7. You've got enough points in and around them, right? Galvin will be a very, very good player. He'll be a rock solid player for our competition. But there's just moments in his ball playing that he doesn't understand the context of game. So when he's chasing points, he's actually way more effective because he moves around freely. But then sometimes he chooses to run the ball on last play as opposed to kicking. And there's only ways you can learn that. He's, 2 years into his career? Yeah. You only learn that through experience, time and repetition. Yeah. Now, if they get to a prelim final and it comes down to controlling a game, Matt Burton's going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Coop, you said something in commentary. I forget the word. It was, he was just pushing the envelope a little hard, for use of a better term. And I think a little bit that's almost internal or personal pressure he's putting himself. You see that with ball players. When they have these certain expectations and pressure on themselves, they're always trying to throw that absolute big pass.
Now, you don't want to take that out of Galvin, right? There's natural ball playing which is going to help him in 5 years' time. So you don't want to cut that off. What you want to do is just expose him to other areas of experience, like Ethan Strange did. Right? That is exactly what I'm talking about. If he just takes 3 steps back and kicks the ball in that corner, they're not under threat in that last play. And Galvin's got a little bit of that learning to do. Now, the Bulldogs might play the Raiders in a big game. You're going to have Jamal Fogarty who will take over that kicking decision-making at the back end of the game now. Can Lachlan Galvin do that? I'm not saying Toby Sexton can, but what I'm saying is a lot will have to be put on Burton.
Yes.
But Galvin will be a good player.
If Galvin does play 14, so that's his role for the rest of this season.
But then you've got Bailey Hayward and Reid Marnie there.
That's right.
Right?
There's a lot to solve.
Yeah, because then you've got, if you put Galvin and Bailey on the bench, you're going to have Kurt Mann, you might have Josh Curran on the bench, and all of a sudden you come up against Penrith Broncos Storm with big packs. They're centralising their attack and going to chew up that smaller man in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there.
That's right. There's so many ball handlers.
Yeah, there is. And smaller bodies. Now, you watch the way they play, their line speed is the best thing. And it's because they're small bodies and have leg speed, right? But if they get quick ruck speed against them, their big bodies won't be able to stop Payne Haas. Or their smaller bodies, won't be able to stop Payne Haas. But interesting dilemma.
Yeah, they're going to need more than one ball on the field for all out there.
Yeah, I think Sexton gets it.
Yep.
I just don't know whether, you can fit, Reid Marnie, Bailey Hayward, Kurt Mann, and Galvin all together.
Righto, Coops. Well, that's your opinion, mate.
Good on you, mate.